And welcome to the latest edition of the 941 Sports Zone, episode number 43, the dog days of summer. And it's certainly going to be the dog days of summer after this week as basketball and hockey have ended. We're going to get heavy into both of those. We'll talk a little bit about the Rays and their struggles, particularly on the road. Continue. They're no longer in first place. The latest chapter in the Brendan Sorsby what do you want to call it? Novel, legal,
God, I
mumbo
don't know.
jumbo.
It seems like a fictional novel or something. How could this be going on in 2026 after what we've seen over years and years of sports between baseball, football, basketball, and now you got somebody who's involved with gambling at the college level, and they're trying to figure out a way to get into play, and it makes no sense to me.
Exactly. We'll also get the very latest on the FIFA World Cup. Big start for Team USA. Shocked the crap out of me, but we'll look at that. And then another cool golf story. We've had so many this year, and just when you think they couldn't possibly come up with another one, they did. So talk about that.
I almost feel like, Rich, that what's going on, there's some sort of karma that's happening with Liv sort of taking its blows right now. But the karma is almost like too much, because they're every time something like this happens, it's another body blow, another hit slap across the face to what they're doing. It just shows you that the storytelling and the drama that goes into the PGA tour every weekend, or what could be every weekend, far exceeds any buying up of big time stars. It's the tour that makes the stars. The stars don't make the tour, and I think that's what we're finding out more and more.
All right, the 941 Sports Zone brought to you as always by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned and nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses throughout the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is their phone number. Get on that roof now before the weather starts to get really bad. And I know a lot of you are saying, what do you mean really bad? We can't even get rain. 941-251-4257. Well, we'll start with the NBA Finals, and it is final. The New York Knicks, for the first time in 53 years, are NBA champions. They win it in 5 over San Antonio in one of the weirdest series, at least from, you look at the figures of the series, John, and I heard somewhere, I believe San Antonio led over 70% of the time during the finals, and the Knicks didn't even lead a quarter of the time, and yet the Knicks win it in 5 late games. You know, you and I talked about games 1 and 2 last week. We were getting ready for game 3, and sure enough, all the Knicks fans and the so-called Trump, what do you want to call it, karma. They didn't win game 3, and suddenly the sky was falling. And it certainly looked like it was falling, John. They were down 29 in the third quarter to San Antonio, who seemingly couldn't miss a shot in the first 26 minutes of the game, and then they couldn't make a shot. And the Knicks do what they do. Just keep playing. 26 became 20, or 29 became 20, became 15, became 12. And once it got under 10, I never turned it off. I watched the Cleveland series because I'm a Cavs fan and I'm a masochist, so I watched it happen. And it was just like that. It wasn't as fast. That happened in an 8-minute stretch, that 22-point lead. This took the entirety of the second half, but just a tremendous game 4. And you just knew after that the series was over.
Yeah, 100%. And there's every sport has like their cathedrals. Yankee Stadium, Dodger Stadium, baseball, or the Fenway Park. There's a lot of places in baseball that live up to that reputation. So in basketball, I mean, it's the Forum out in LA. It is Madison Square Garden, because it's people don't realize how important basketball is in the city of New York recreationally. You know what I mean? And everybody picks up a basketball. They're all there. They're playing. They're doing it. So the Knicks have always been the only team You can say the Nets, but really, are we really comparing apples to apples at this point? No, you're not. To see that type of theater on the game 4 situation was top 10 NBA type moments, because it was a young superstar in the finals, just making a comeback, mammoth lead in a game, and it comes down to a guy who I wouldn't call OG a role player, because he's a starter. Maybe that's not fair to him. But for him to come in there knowing that he was not being guarded after the inbounds, and knowing that Brunson was going to throw it up quick, goes right to the hoop, gets above everybody else, and puts the softest little tip in right in the basket, and basically that's the game you win. Unbelievable theater, unbelievable everything. And you can break down how the Spurs lost the series, but it's just a game-to-game thing. They came out fired up like young guys will do, and hey, we're going to do this, and you're shooting, and everything's going down for you because you're better athletically than the Knicks are, for across the board. But what happens is that all that energy, all that stuff that you expend in the first 2 quarters, you've got nothing left. And when you got nothing left, it's like it's rope-a-dope all over again. You got Ali letting Foreman just hit him with body blow after body blow after body blow, and then when he's got nothing left, here comes Ali, and he just knocks him out. And so I think that's kind of what it was. I thought that the Spurs would win maybe one more game than this. But once you got to that, even game 3 where things weren't quite right for the Knicks, it just seemed like the Knicks had it all figured out. Experience, teamwork. After the fact, you see that team together. They really like each other. You can tell when another guy doesn't like another guy. You'd hear it. If Brunson didn't like Cat, okay, guess what? We know about it because the New York would be on the back page of the Daily News, right?
Sure.
And so you know about it. And you've got that Villanova connection with Bridges and with Hart and Brunson. I think there's a lot to it. This could be a one-off for the Knicks. I think they're going to be very competitive going forward, depending on how they handle their roster. And it seems like they finally got a front office that knows what they're doing for a change. So
Leon Rose.
That being the case, he knows what he's doing. That being the case, this is super special. This is folklore kind of things what the Knicks did, and man, it was fun to watch. And I loved most the biggest thing I got up after game 4 was nobody wanted to leave Madison Square Garden.
Correct.
That was cool. Really cool.
Not just the A-listers, everybody in the building. 25 minutes after the postgame started, it still looked like a packed house.
And you had Charles Barkley and Shaq and all that. They were saying that they had to analyze the game, but they were looking around. And it's like, isn't this cool? Isn't this cool? There's not a lot of isn't this cool moments over in the NBA. There isn't. They're just sometimes it's about millionaires and this and that. Everybody took to this. That was a basketball person. And I want to say this as well. I think guys who have to be impartial for a living, I think they couldn't tamper down their partiality in this situation because it was too cool of a story, too cool of a thing going on to watch everybody standing with their mouth open and say what an amazing situation this is. So great theater. It was fantastic to watch.
And I was very critical of Kenny Atkinson, of the coach of the Cavaliers during the meltdown, and I looked at that more as a meltdown than a rally by the Knicks. But the San Antonio meltdown made the Cleveland meltdown look like butter slowly melting. I don't even know how to put it into words, and you're watching this, and you're watching San Antonio with a huge lead, chucking up threes 10 seconds into the shot clock. And it's happening again and again. It happened 8 consecutive times. and Mitch Johnson has his thumb up his ass, not calling timeout for San Antonio. He had way more time to react than Kenny Atkinson did.
Right.
And for some reason, until we got to the fourth quarter, what is coaches going to do with these timeouts? Sell them on eBay? I have no idea. It's like they hold on to them. You got to stop the flow. If nothing else, you got to get your team's head back in the game. And clearly San Antonio's head was gone. I mean, they were literally gone. And you could tell by the body language in the fourth quarter, John, that they were hanging on. They were looking for some guidance, and they never got it. And that's all the ingredients have to come up for a comeback of 29 points in the second half. And San Antonio certainly gave them their portion of it.
I have two friends who probably will be watching this podcast when I send it out later on today. But they'll know what I'm talking about. Being a Florida Gator fan, as I have been, going with the Steve Spurrier era was something to behold. Okay, but generally speaking, if you watch Steve Spurrier, he threw the ball more in the first half and ran it in the second half because he got himself a lead. And then, like in football, there's only so many possessions if you know what you're doing with. Not even to have to score. You got to run the ball so many times, get a few first downs, and you chew up half the clock. Once I always say potentially there's 11 to 12 possessions in a game for any team, and Spurrier would get up by 6 scores. It's over at that point. He grant you he ran the score up or whatever he did, but he learned his lesson in the choke at Doak when he sort of didn't run out the clock or whatever else it was. But once you got to a point where in the third quarter and you were up by so many points, only so many possessions left in a game for you, the game is officially over. Okay. Right. In high school, they actually make it over. They call it a running clock, right?
Right.
It's officially over. So at that point, at 29 up, it was officially over, unless you do something colossally stupid. And number one was you have a coach with a young bunch of guys, okay? Not just young guys, and this is just a little preview of what I have to say a little later on. Young guys that wanted to be
heroes,
be men, be cocky. Look at me, bravado. Okay, win, act like a pro. This is for a championship. This is not for the neighborhood reputation or whatever it is you're trying to get. And they went out there and acted foolishly, not just from the way they acted as after shots or whatever, but foolishly by continuing to throw threes up when there was no reason to do it. And I think that's a testament to why San Antonio lost, and it's a testament to why the coach should be receiving a lot of scrutiny in regards to what he did. Now, is he a young guy also? Yes, he is. So there's something to be said about it. Experience paid off in this situation. Knicks never wavered, never thought they couldn't lose, and there we are. They 53 years of angst is gone, and they're hanging a banner in the Garden.
Here's the other thing that not a lot of people are bringing up in this last few days. They talked a lot about this in game one of each of the last two series, the Cleveland series and the San Antonio series. They talked about rest versus rust. And clearly the Knicks were the fresher team. They only played, as it turned out, 19 games.
Right.
In the final. They went 16-3. They were definitely a little rusty in game one against Cleveland in the first 3 quarters. Finally got it together. They were certainly rusty in the first part of the first game of the San Antonio series, got it together, and won the game. I don't think there's any question, and we'll talk about this a little more even in hockey because it's more physical. But I don't think there's any question. Rest beats rust, because rust you could shake off in literally less than a game, whereas rest, as the series went on, and again we'll talk about this in the Stanley Cup final, as the series goes on, the fresher team make the plays in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks did every single game, even the game they lost, like you said, game 3, they hung around. It looked like San Antonio had 3 or 4 chances to just bury them, and they never did. And the Knicks kept hitting shots and keeping it close. the fourth quarter they owned. You want to own the fourth quarter, not the first quarter, and certainly the New York Knicks did that.
Yeah, they're 1,000% right. And I also thought some of the smarter things the Knicks did. When Tom Thibodeau was released, it was because his rotation was so short. He was running 6 guys in the game, and they had a whole bench full of guys, and the Knicks were putting a lot of different players on the court to get the guy a couple of minutes worth of time, buying some time here and there. I thought that Coach Brown did a really nice job with just spotting guys and getting him off the court. When Wemby was
giving Brunson breaks using Alvarado. I thought that was, Alvarado's not nearly the player, but you know what? He gave him 5-6 minutes here, 4 or 5 minutes here. And at the end of the game, Brunson was fresh, ready to go.
And Brunson, I want to say the way they did it, he was out of the game for maybe 6 minutes of a quarter at a time early in the game. He was out, like he's getting a good long rest. And I'm thinking, my goodness, they gained a little bit up. They were, instead of being down by so much, they were only down by a little bit more. And I never, if they were within 10, they were going to win for sure. 29, that's a different story. That had to be something that was gifted to them in some ways. But every single time they got somebody on the bench with a little bit of a break, boy, did it make a difference. And you're right. Brunson scores 15 to get 45 in the Game 5 clincher. And he looked like he could have gone even more than that.
Yeah, no question. He cemented himself. If he ever has to buy a meal or a drink in New York, shame on that restaurant. I mean, absolutely. After Game 4, I was talking with some of my friends, and I was like, Anunoby's got a shot here to maybe steal the MVP of the series. I mean, he was tremendous. And he was obviously getting healthier each game, although he didn't have a great game in Game 5, but still he was playing better and better each game. He had the unbelievable tip. You start thinking, he has a real good Game 5 or a Game 6 and they win. And then Brunson says, hold my beer. 29 in the second half. They couldn't buy a basket, John. They couldn't buy as a team. They couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. And Brunson says, all right, over here. I'll take it. I'll do it every which way. He fouled a couple times shooting threes. He was making threes, making off balance jumpers. He was the man. And I think we all need to now be listen, I was not nearly as much of a Jalen Brunson fan as I am now. And same thing with Mike Brown. I was not a big Mike Brown fan. I saw he had coached the Cavs. He's obviously learned. And I think probably the biggest stretch where he learned was when he was an assistant at Golden State under Steve Kerr, who is a hell of a coach, and he learned a ton, and he put it all to use in these finals.
No, you're 100% right. There's no doubt about that the experience that he got, again, being a head coach, being on a championship team, what a difference it made in his coaching style. It all came together perfectly. I believe, Rich, I know it's a little, again, I'm ahead of myself, but everybody's saying how much better Boston's going to be next year, and I'm sure they will be. But I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. With Brunson, you have an Isaiah Thomas type of leader, okay? Isaiah was the same way. Isaiah could go out there and take over a game when he had to and put 40 up. But his main job was to do whatever it took to win the game. He was a fierce competitor. He was soft-spoken, but he was a fierce competitor. He willed that team to championships. And Brunson maybe not the same style, but the same results. He is willing that team to win. And to have a guy who's got the ball in his hand, who can do that and be the guy that can be, you can lean on to get points. That's an interesting kind of a mix of players you have there. If they stick together, maybe 1 or 2 additions here or there, whatever it may be, I think the Knicks are the favorites in the East next year. I really do.
Well, they're actually not, which is amazing. I mean. So head to the window. If you're bullish on the Knicks, you're going to get a great price because I think they're only the 4th favorite in the East, as a matter of fact. Coming Boston, and it all depends. It all depends on where Giannis ends up too, because it sure sounds like And I was hearing some things today, and I'm sure you heard the same things. I think we listened to a lot of the same shows. Looks like the Giannis thing was kind of put on pause because they didn't want it to happen during the finals. And I think now you might see in the next couple of weeks. Well, the draft is next week. The NBA draft is literally next Tuesday, 23rd, the 23rd. The draft comes. I mean, it's like the hockey too. Like they finish and like, all right, Friday night we're gonna have the draft. It's like, holy crap! You guys breathe for a little bit. I mean, but yeah, that's. I think that's gonna have a lot of an effect. And whereas I thought maybe earlier, even in the playoffs, that Giannis to the Knicks was a sure possibility, I don't see it now. Because first of all, you'd have to give away too many ancillary pieces.
Right.
You're going to break up the chemistry. So and I'm hearing a lot up here as I come to you from just north of Boston. I'm hearing a lot of Giannis to the Celtics, which makes absolute sense because so you're going to trade Giannis for, say, Jaylen Brown? Really?
Yeah,
I mean, that just doesn't. It doesn't work with their offense. It doesn't. No. It's they do have to get better. They can't be shooting 53s a night. They certainly have to get a low post scorer. But again, how much are you going to sacrifice? So this Giannis thing is really, to me, is very intriguing, and it looks like it's going to happen sooner than later.
Right. They're hot to get rid of him. I would say wouldn't be surprised if next Tuesday he hasn't moved or doesn't move that night for whatever reason. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, I think that again the Knicks, like I said, being underdogs again this coming up year, I think it'll bode well for them. I really do. And I don't think that they're looking to get to be a number one seed to begin with. They seem to have it where they kind of get what it takes to win. 1 seed, 2 seed, whatever it may be. I don't know if the Knicks really have where it makes a lot of difference to be high as they can go, but I don't think they're going to go out there and try to get 72 wins or something like that. It makes no sense. I think they might feel as though they're the best team in the league. As long as they're in the playoffs with a decent seed, we'll take our chances.
There you go. We'll win 50, 55 games again. We'll be the 3 or 4 seed, and we'll be just fine. We'll might have to go on the road, but as they showed in the San Antonio series, they have no problem going on the road first couple of games, stealing 1, maybe 2. This team had a confidence about them, John, and I think it wasn't a cockiness. It wasn't a look at me. It was a quiet confidence. Like they said after Game 5 in the interviews, we knew we were going to win, and there's a lot to say about that. Yeah. That whereas San Antonio, I almost said Giannis. Wembanyama's pointing at his head, and Harper is hanging his arm out there when he's shooting threes, and all the Knicks did was just play and play and play, and they did all the celebrating in San Antonio on Saturday night.
Right, I agree, totally agree.
All right, so the NBA Finals in the books. Again, the draft is next Tuesday. It's supposed to be a pretty deep draft. We'll try to have a little bit of a preview coming up next week. I wonder if Jay Billis is available. No, just anyway.
He might be. He's all over the place. You never know.
He really is. By the way, first parade in the Canyon of Heroes, which really is cool. You know what? Yes. What other city has something like that? They don't. But it's the first parade since 2009 with the Yankees. 17 years. That's a long time between parades. And no question about it. And, I was hearing some of the Mets, it's been since 86. The Islanders, it's been since, I think, 83? I think was the last 82, one, the Islanders.
Yeah. Could be.
83. They won from 80 to 83. They won 4 in a row. But I think that was their last Stanley Cup win. Rangers 94. It's been a long time between. The fact the Yankees haven't in 17 years says all you need to know. They're there every year, but they can't get over the hump. So good on the Knicks, and they should enjoy the heck out of that ticker tape parade through the Canyon of Heroes. Stanley Cup final. You and I were here last week. We talked about it. It was one hell of a series. It was a lot of scoring. And then Frederik Andersen gets pulled from Game 3, down 4-0. And as the series went on, obviously there's something wrong. They still haven't come out with it yet, which I thought was kind of interesting, because how do you go from the number one goalie to not even dressing? I mean, they were the backup was some guy who never played. So you can't tell me, and I know Rob Brindamore, and I know hockey, it's a healthy scrap. Crap. Anyway,
Right.
nonetheless, Brandon Bussey played his rear end off. Very unfortunate at the end of game 3 with the own goal that gave Vegas, the win in the overtime after Carolina scored 4 in the third. We talked about that game last week.
Right. Right.
And Carolina said, you know what? We got a new goalie. We got to go back to our defensive style. And they suffocated Vegas the last 3 games. Last night, they could have played 10 periods, and I don't think Vegas would have scored.
No, if once you saw Carolina figure it out, or whatever that was, it was over. It was very anticlimactic, and not just like, but like early onslaught, and then going out there and just playing, but still not the left wing lock, whatever we talked about last week, but definitely kept playing, looking to score. They just overwhelmed them. Vegas looked sluggish.
They look tired. They look tired. And here again, we're going to talk about the rest versus rust. Carolina only played 19 games. Vegas had long series, every single series, and I think it finally caught up with them.
You're right. And a little bit of that. The rest part of it was, with the way the format for the playoffs were, the Carolina had a relatively easy first two series, and
yes.
And so you look at you see when they played Montreal just worn down for having 2 7-game series, and then
couldn't even get a shot on goal.
Right, yeah. and then Vegas as well, playing against Colorado, and I forget who the second round team that was a very good
Anaheim.
Team. Okay. And they got through, and they looked like they had some energy early, but it just overwhelmed them. And Carolina, again, that's not the only reason. That's a very, very, very good hockey club. You watch them play; they are. I always watch the fourth line when I play hockey.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, when Kucherov's out there, when these guys over the years, the main guys, you watch that fourth line, the guys that grind, the guys that come out. And they check like crazy. They keep the puck in the neutral, out of their zone. A lot of it's down in the other end. They do that, and then they come off the ice. They did their minute and a half worth of work. You watch that, and you see how the level of play doesn't go down very much when that fourth line's out there. You got something special, and I saw that with Carolina.
No, there's no doubt about it, and no team that I can remember forever, and There's been a few coaches that have been players, but no team embodies, their coach like Carolina. Rob Brindamore was a guy who mucked it in the corners. He was a tough guy. He was the captain of the team that won in 2006, and it was no different. He's the captain of the ship, even though they had, Jordan Stahl, who ended up being the Conn Smythe winner.
Right.
On the ice, but he embodied Rob Brindamore, and I'm happy for him, because he was taking a lot of crap because they kept getting to the conference finals and failing, and it happened year after year, and they finally got over that hump against Montreal this year, and I think they exhaled a little bit. And the first couple of games, it resembled, the scores were crazy, 5-4, 4-3 in overtime, but again, they got to playing Rob Brindamore hockey, and Carolina took it home and danced with Lord Stanley last night. What a feeling!
You want to know what type of player or coach Brindamore is? All you got to do is look at his face.
Yeah.
Okay. He's the kind of guy that if you saw him in an alley, you'd say, I don't think I need to be here right now.
Right, exactly.
He's got that little bit of like, he looks like he could be, terrible to say, but he could be homeless. You know what I mean? Or it looks like he could just be the guy who just is ready to meet somebody in the alleyway. He's got a very gritty kind of approach. Even his press conferences they're a little bit more, they're not theatrical. Let's just say.
He's very direct.
Right to the point.
Very direct. Yep.
He's not going to mess around. And a lot of hockey players, the guys who are they play to their personality in a lot of cases. And so he's one of those who play to his personality and coaches to his personality. And he's a genuine person, which I think from a coaching perspective is it leads to much more long-term success. And because when you're genuinely who you are, no matter, then people can take you for what it is, and they either say I'm in or I'm out. And then if you're the right GM, you find guys who are in on him being their coach, and that's kind of Bill Belichick, right? Look at him.
Yep.
Everybody's like, oh, Bill's great. I don't think Bill is a go out for a beer with the guys coach.
No.
They can say that all you want to say about it. He's not that guy. And but you know what you're going there for. I mean, you had guys like Randy Moss and all these guys going to the Patriots as free agents because they want to play with Bill Belichick.
They wanted to win.
That's
period.
Right. And Belichick walks in and says, how do we win? You know, we can talk about all the scandals and whatnot, but it was all about winning. That's all it was about. Desperately wanting to win. It meant more than anything. And so that's what you see. And I'm not saying that's Brind'Amour, I'm saying, but he's genuine to his personality, genuine to the way he reacts to certain things. And how do you feel bad about that if you're playing with a guy playing?
No, it's infectious. It's infectious. Right, the room, he had the room, and I love the way he got the Stanley Cup and just embraced it. Just like a bear hug. It was pretty awesome. That was his. That's definitely his personality. Brandon Bussi, I know he wasn't the Conn Smythe winner. Crap, he only played 3.5 games, but .954 save percentage, allowing only 5 goals, and he played a lot. You know, Anderson played, but he played for a backup goaltender. He played about 35 to 40% of their games. So when they went to him, they had confidence in him, and the room had confidence in him. Yeah. And I think, again, that's when you got that guy back there, you know, when the Lightning were winning cups with Vazzy, they knew, you know, they could make a mistake or two, and Vazzy had their backs. Well, it looked like Bussi had their backs for sure in this series. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So like I said, and you like to see that with hockey where everybody contributes. You know what I mean? Yep. Again, hockey's different as well. The bench, everybody plays. You know what I'm saying? Correct. The backup goalie. So it's like you said, the fourth line plays a lot. You got to be out there getting their minutes. So a backup goalie, you better be ready at any moment, because if he's not mentally in that game, he's going to cost them a game. He has to be ready. He has to be ready. And he was, no question about it. Brind'Amour, only the 4th captain who coached the team to the cup. In other words, was captain, right, and then was cup. The other 3 guys, Toe Blake, Hap Day, and Cooney Weiland. You're like, who? Yeah, we're talking 40s, okay? Yes. 80 plus years ago. Right. For Montreal, I know Maple Leaf fans, this is going to be hard to believe, but yes, for Toronto, Hap Day actually was captain of a Stanley Cup winner, and he was a coach of a Stanley Cup winner in Toronto. Yeah. Ask your great grandfather or whoever, if somebody was around. And of course, Cooney Weiland for the Boston Bruins. So hats off to Carolina. The 941 Sports Zone, episode 43, presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. 941-251-4257. We've been appreciative of them being on board with us from episode number 1. 941-251-4257. Give them a call. They've got plenty of backing, both locally and nationally, and they do a tremendous job. Look them up and down the Gulf Coast. If you're watching this anywhere in the state of Florida, they'll take care of you. 941-251-4257. All right, the Rays. You knew that, water finds its level. They couldn't go the way they were going. No. The 26-6 or whatever the ridiculous streak was that they were on. They're still playing very well at home. Let's not mince words. They swept Boston, which I thought was big for a couple of reasons. First off, they continue to win games in the AL East, especially at home. They are taking care of business. A little bit of trouble going out to Anaheim. The first game was very frustrating. They had several opportunities to beat the Angels, and they came up just short. Cedric Mullins struck out with the bases loaded at the end of the game on Friday night. Saturday night was a complete whitewash, 8-0. So they got back to their winning ways on Sunday. Caminero hit his 15th He's starting to hit the ball a little better, a little more consistently. But the other bats, that concerns me a little bit. And something that you've never really had to worry about with the Rays, John, fielding is a problem.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's an issue, and that's something that they've got to fix. And I don't know how you fix it. I certainly, even Taylor Walls made a big error on Saturday night. Griffin Jacks deserved a much better fate. He gave a unearned run in 5 innings and ended up taking the loss because, the offense did 0. But there they sit, still a game behind the Yankees. They get to play the Dodgers this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That should be an interesting series. And the Dodgers are smarting from a series loss to, wait for it, the Chicago White Sox.
I saw that first time in so many years.
2014 was the last time that the White Sox beat them in a series. Now, they don't play every year, but still, that's saying a lot. The White Sox are 7 games over 500. They're a surprise in their own right. But the Rays, let's be competitive against the Dodgers. And it seems like they've been stepping up against better teams. It seems like it's the teams that they're supposed to beat that they're having trouble with, which is kind of backwards.
It's an oddity about what's kind of going on. The whole season seems like it's an oddity to begin with. But I look at it and say, like, you talk about the bats. I always worry about the bats with the Rays. It's always been a situation where when are they going to go south? But the thing is this, Rich, what's bad as far as hitting in Major League Baseball at all these days? You know what I mean? What do we have? Two or three guys over 300 last year? So
not much.
You're not looking at like guys that you're like, oh wow, that guy's only hitting 240. That's probably great. I think what the Rays do well consistently is situational baseball. Okay, plugging a guy in here, inventing the starter. I'm losing my mind a little bit here, but like when you have the guy
openers, having the openers,
openers, right? They do little things. They work with they look at what their roster is, what they're capable of. They accept there's going to be some fault to it. They accept that hey, they might have a good shortstop who can field well, but he's going to probably hit 215. You've got a little bit of that, and it works in the way their finances are. Works in the way that they kind of put their teams together, and every game is sort of strategized in a manner that seems like they're focusing on that specific game. Okay, that whatever we got to do, and that's how it works. And so, they can go out and beat Dodgers 3 times out in LA because I guarantee there's a formula they're putting together to win those games. Whereas the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox, they go out and buy a team and say, now go hit 1,000 home runs and go do this and go do that, right? Because these guys are the guys that they're getting have earned their money, so to speak. You know what I mean? And so you guys already proved what you have. We're paying you big money. You go make it happen. And we're going to go get any flunky to come and be the manager. Whatever we bring that next flavor in. You don't see, tell me if I'm wrong, you don't see the Dodgers developing a manager in the minor leagues.
No.
You don't see the Yankees bringing a guy up, right? You just don't. Okay, You just don't. Whereas other teams, they do, and they get managers who can manage a superstar or manage a younger guy or a role player, whatever it may be. That's why Kevin Cash is so important. That's why Joe Madden was so important to the Rays. It doesn't have nothing against the roster right now, but it doesn't even matter at some point in time. As long as they're Major League Baseball players and you get something out of them, the Rays will find a way. It's a matter of how much they can get out of those guys each and every year. Is it a world championship level plan? Yeah, maybe you're going to break through every once in a while, but you're going to be a consistent winner, and we're going to get the most out of the guys we can. And I think you're seeing a prototypical in this year's team.
No question about it. And think about this. I was thinking about this earlier. Joe Madden came along in 2006. And since 2006, 20 years, the Rays have had 2 managers. How many managers did they go through in the first 8 years of their existence from 98 to 2006? It was like, Lou Piniella, Hal McRae. They tried to fit round holes into square pegs, and they finally decided, hey, Joe Madden, minor league, he was forever a minor league and bench coach. with the Angels. They got him, and then they got Kevin Cash. Same thing. They have found the right formula, not only on the field, but in the dugout. And I think that's very important.
Right, it is. And like I said, in baseball, it's always about a free agent. It's about the next guy going to make $500 million. Rays are not in that conversation. Rays are building a team every year.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that team's going to be, they're building it.
So after the Dodgers series, the Rays have a 10-game homestand. And their record at home is, if they're not still first, they're right there as far as home record, because they're 17-18 on the road and they're 41-27 overall. So they've only lost 9 games at home, and that includes 3 in a row when they got swept by the Tigers of all teams.
Yeah, that was recent too.
Yeah, it was. So, but their 10-game homestand now. I look at this and I start licking my chops, but the way they've been playing against, not lesser teams, certainly shows you concern, because they have Washington, who can tear the cover off the ball. They're hitting this year like crazy. Kansas City, who is struggling, and that should be a series win, and Arizona, who's hanging tough in the NL West. I mean, it's a 10-game homestand. You got to go at least 7-3, in my opinion, on that homestand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got to come out of there at least that much, because that's going to be if you can go 500 on the road and go 700 the rest of the time, I think you're in good shape at that point.
It's a good formula. It's a very good formula. So, and of course, again, the Aaron Judge thing, we haven't heard anything. We talked about that a little bit last week. He's still about 3 weeks or so from getting retested. And again, there's no guarantee that he's even coming back this year. So this should be a very interesting.
An athlete like him in particular, you always see in the seems that when they get something like this, it lingers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like this chiseled bodied guy, and all of a sudden it's just this little nagging injury, and it takes a while for it to come back. If the Yankees are smart, they don't rush him back. If they're smart, and there's any question, the Yankees have not punched a ticket to the playoffs, but they have enough guys in there that can at least pick up the slack.
Well, their pitching
is a lot of it, right?
Yeah, their pitching is actually really good now that Garrett Cole's back in the mix. Rodon, I mean, they've got starters. Right. Yeah, all they have to do is keep the bullpen together, and Bednar does his thing, and they're going to win a lot of games. So it's going to be a fun summer. And I didn't think it was going to be a fun summer, to be truthfully honest with you, with the Rays. In all honesty, I was like maybe 80 wins, maybe 82. Would be.
Rich, you look at at the beginning of every season. We'll start talking about the NFL and say, well, some of the Patriots look great. They got AJ Brown and this and that, and everything else. But there's going to be somebody you're going to look at. You're not even going to consider them to be a team that's going to be on the rise, and you're going to turn and go, how did they get to be 5-0? There are things like that you don't expect from certain teams. And then when it happens, it becomes a very good, obviously a great story. And in baseball, in this case, it seems to be year after year, it's the Rays are doing something, not every year, but for the most part, they're doing something to make themselves be very competitive. It always seems as though there's a rotation. Rays are second and third, and the Red Sox suck for a year, and the Orioles suck for a while, and then the Blue Jays suck for a while. The Yankees are the ones that really don't usually suck at all the other teams. But the Rays are never quite – they're always in that 2, 3, 4 slot in some way. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's how they are. So,
well, look at Toronto. Toronto was literally 3 outs from a World Championship, and they can't get to 500 right now. And, I know they started slow last year, but that's not a winning formula, struggling in April and May and having to play like 700 baseball the rest of the way. And eventually that's going to catch up with you.
It seems to me like the Toronto team that I see right now, Rich, like a little piece got pulled off every year. This guy's gone. And what happened to that guy? They had, 5 years ago, they had a lineup of everybody's who played in major leagues. Their son was on the Toronto Blue Jays team, and now you see like that guy's not there anymore, and that guy's not there anymore, and this guy's not there anymore. So I think there's an attrition rate with the talent they had. Little by little, it's been taken away from them, and I see that this might be a year to count up to them a little bit, at least early in the year.
All right, we make the unsmooth segue from the Rays being a great story to the the cesspool that is Texas Tech. And I think I'm being kind calling it a cesspool.
If this podcast was called What's Bugging Me podcast, we would have started with this story, because it's going to bother everybody for hopefully not the entire college football season, but I think it's going to be something that's going to linger at least until the season starts, because Texas Tech has put their money and their energy behind Brandon Sorsby, the quarterback that they bought up for $5 million from the University of Cincinnati. No more detail to know than he bet on his own team, which is the cardinal rule you cannot do. He did it. He was given a ban from sports, went to an appeals court, and now he's back for only having to miss 2 games, which is against Abilene Christian and Oregon State, right?
Yes.
So all that being the case, this is what nobody ever wanted to see happen when it came to, and this really isn't even NIL, it is portal kind of things. But the idea, if it wouldn't matter if it was portal or not. Let's say he was on Texas Tech's team for 4 years. They would still be battling over this for whatever reason. Well, I know what the reason is. They want to win. They think this guy's going to do it for them.
At all cost.
At all cost. And Texas Tech has no problem playing the villain in this situation for whatever reason. And it is not a good scenario right now, because it just compounds what's going on with the NIL and with everything else. So college football is not about who's going to be in the top 10. It's about what is the next scandal or problem that the NCAA has to, or college football in general has to address. This is unnecessary. This should not be up for debate. I think it's that cut and dry. And by the way, Rich, everywhere anyone else outside of Lubbock, Texas, it agrees with it. It is across the board. They are in the wrong, but they're going to go through the system and hopefully be able to put off whatever's going to happen until February and the season's over and there's nothing to worry about anymore. I would like to see the NFL step up and say something. They say, look.
Well, they do in their own way, though, John. They will in their own way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
As far as the draft is concerned, or not taking him, or whatever it may be, it's
right. They already did it with Shedeur Sanders on much lesser conditions. The NFL, trust me, this is just I don't even know how to. The fact that the Big 12.
Right.
And by the way, let's the latest villain in this whole thing is the Attorney General for the state of Texas, Kenneth Paxton, who basically said, if the Big 12 takes any advantage, we're taking you right to court. So the Big 12, in order to observe their bylaws, has to actually file suit against the university, against Paxton over Sorsby's eligibility, and they basically have to ask for an injunction so that the conference can hand out punishment. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's dumb.
And I honestly, it's collegiate sports, collegiate football. We saw it out in California when they said the teams wouldn't play against San Jose State regarding their transgender athlete playing on the other team. I want to say that if it was, I'd have to be in a conversation about it and say, hey, we got Texas Tech on the schedule this year. This is not good for college football. Do we take a stand and say we're not going to play? Do we say that if they play, we got till whenever, October 5th, before we play the game with them? If it's not resolved, we're not going to play the game. And what's going to happen is there's going to be revenue that's lost, maybe for both teams.
Correct.
But in this situation, that's the only way things are going to get changed when it hits money. And when he's out there and he's a pariah, again, at some point in time, I would think the kid's going to say, I don't want any part of this. If this is what's going to happen, and it's just this bad of a thing, I'm going to go to rehab or whatever I got.
We already went.
Well, that's what I mean. He's got to have to go somewhere. Go to the Palmer brothers and learn how to throw a football with those two guys or whatever. Figure it out if that's the case. But you broke the cardinal rule. That's it. You can't do it. You did it. You're caught. They're trying to figure out a way to buy time to get you through it because they know it's not going to. If it keeps going to different courts, it'll never hold up. It's the time though. Time will go by. It'll be 5 years from now. What are you fighting over? The next guy who comes up against it in a situation like this. I don't know. Right. It's ridiculous. It really is.
So we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure we'll be talking about this right throughout the summer. But I think the Big 12 wants to have this thing adjudicated before August. And
yes.
Of course, Sorsby and his attorney are trying to drag this thing out. Right now, they have an injunction until February.
Right. February 2027. Yeah.
I'd like to know how that judge is still barred, by the way. I want to know.
I've heard about this judge. One guy recused himself because he was a Texas Tech booster or whatever else it was.
No, he's graduate.
Guy comes in, yeah, and this guy is like he's talking about they're taking away his right to earn a living. There's like a whole. It's not even about football. It's not even about whatever. It's about like right to work kind of things. I don't even get what it really is coming from. And this judge has turned it into a farce. He's taken a very simple situation where it's a club. You're being allowed to play in a club. You're a member of the. So in order to play, you have to follow rules. Okay. Right. And this guy's saying, no, you're taking away his opportunity to earn a living. And it's like, no, that's not the point. This is a club. This is not it's a privilege to be doing this. It's not his inalienable right to be.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
It is not a right. It's a privilege. And it's being treated as if it's a right.
Right.
And that's where the problem is.
Right. And that's wrong. And it's got to be changed. It's not even have to be changed. It has to be held up.
Right. You're absolutely correct on that. All right. More to come on that. I'm sure we'll have, just when we think we don't have enough news, we'll get into June and July and it'll be kind of slow until we get to our high school football preview. I'm pretty sure this is going to keep us going for a while.
Well, I think over the next couple of weeks, Rich, this will be major talking points for us moving forward. That the new rules as far as high school football is concerned, as well as far as the in the state of Florida, they have an open division for a championship, which we'll get into the details, I'm sure, in the next week or so about that in particular. The Teddy Bridgewater rule and act and everything else. There's a lot of little things that are going on right now in football in particular that are definitely going to be headline grabbers leading into the regular season.
All right. Before we continue, one more reminder that the 941 Sports Zone is presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. 941-251-4257. Give them a call. They'll take care of your roof, and you won't have to worry about it if we somehow get smacked with a storm. Even a thunderstorm or an EF0 tornado could be a problem if your roof is not sturdy enough. So give them a call.
I've seen many of relative or people that are new customers be sitting in their house on the first real thunderstorm they've ever seen in Florida, and let's just say they might have needed a depend or two when they were done because it scared the poop out of them pretty good. And that's again, flash, boom, there it is, and it can be from anywhere at any time.
Yeah, 941-251-4257. Again, Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. FIFA World Cup time. Interesting, surprising, shocking to me. Team USA came out like I don't know. I mean, they were, their friendlies, they were meh. And Paraguay was a pretty good team. I think we played them in a 2-1 game in one of our later friendlies late last year. Well, they came out smoking. Team USA did. Got up 3-0 at the half. Let me see if I don't screw up his name. Florian Balogun. 2 goals, including on a set piece right at the half. They scored on a set piece just as time expired to get up 3-0. Paraguay cut it to 3-1 after the second half water break. Water break? Are we playing high school football? These are professional athletes. What the heck?
There's so many ways to go with this, but it would be unfair to talk about the World Cup and starting to sort of pick on what it is that soccer becomes, the dramatics on the field with the somebody stepped on somebody's toe or didn't step on their toe, and selling of an injury and all the different stuff that goes into it. I get it. They're trying to buy, they're trying to get something for nothing kind of scenario, all those things. But some of the things they do in soccer are not necessarily what the red, white, and blue is used to in their sports. It's not something we're used to. So
right.
It is what it is.
4-1, so 3-goal differential. That's big because when you get to the next round, teams get re-ranked. And the fact that you have a 3-goal differential, only Germany, who
7-1,
7-1, they're pretty much going to win their group. It would be. I thought that the last game would be the game that would decide who won the group, against Turkey. Except that Australia went out and beat Turkey 2-0, which was as shocked as I was about USA beating Paraguay the way they did. The fact that Australia not only gave Turkey a game, but they ended up beating them 2-0. And now that makes this Friday's game at 3 p.m. Eastern time against Australia in Seattle makes that probably the game that's going to decide who is the group champion.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I'm glad to see that they've got themselves, it's the momentum in this country for soccer can end like that.
Yes.
We got World Cup. It's here. There's great games all over we got, it's a worldwide event. And if they came out and the score was flipped 4-1, the interest goes down 50%. Because you still want to watch the USA, right? And if they would have lost to Paraguay by 4-1 score and Australia had just beaten Turkey, I think it would have been that you would have seen a lot of that energy would have been gone at this point. So it's probably the best thing that could happen to U.S. soccer. I just don't know how they maintain the momentum. Not in this particular. They could go decently into through this World Cup, but there's still, to me, a very, very big chasm between where they could be and where they are.
Right.
I just don't see them getting guys who are of that level or that talent point for the game. I don't know why. I hear all the different things like, well, geez, we have all these great athletes. Why can't we get them to play soccer well? I don't know. But I also know that, it took a while for the world to catch up to play baseball the way we play baseball. And now our league is nothing but, it's not a lot of American players in Major League Baseball. There is, but they're not as many, I should say.
Right.
NBA, everybody's got foreign players, right? That's how it works. The NFL is the one that kind of keeps to itself in regards to that, in-house type of athlete. But you would think that soccer would be a sport that the U.S. could find a way to break through that top 8 teams in the country, or in the world, I should say. It's just never happened.
So what do you think is a good tournament? A couple things. First of all, this year they increased the amount of teams from 32 to 48.
Right.
Which makes the college football thing look puny. Okay.
Yeah.
You've literally just added 1/3 more teams. And 32 teams, I believe it is, make it into the knockout stage, if you will.
Right.
And then you have a round of 32, and then you have a round of 16, and then you have the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. To you, what is a successful World Cup for Team USA? How far do they have to go?
To the 16 round.
Okay.
16. Okay. Because, they didn't add 16 teams to the top. Like, they didn't get 16 top teams. No. They got,
well, they got 4 teams that have never even participated. One of them on Monday actually drew with the favorite Spain, Cape Verde.
Yeah.
0-0. And that's an incredible result.
This is like in the NCAA tournament, the 16 seed being whoever you want. You name a team that's a 16 seed, and you say we added 16 more of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. They added 16 lower, and they made it so it's a little longer. There's more success. I even thought about this, Rich, in some way, why I say 16 is a number for them. I think in some ways they're trying to keep interest in the tournament longer.
Yes.
Okay. and I don't want to say it was made. This was put together to make the USA look better. But you win. You play 4 or 5 or 6 games in a tournament, not 2 or 3, and you're done. It makes you look more legit. It may grind out some interest from people in particular. This was done to get more airtime and notoriety to the bigger powerhouse teams, and they just bought more raw meat for the Lions. Is what they did, and they just threw it in there and said, "Go get it, see what happens." And that's why you're seeing USA even in their group. I mean, their group is it's them, Australia, Paraguay, and Turkey. That's not like.
That's not murderer's row.
That's not murderer's row any way, shape, or form. It's not even close to that. So I'm not saying it was a layup, but you say to yourself, okay, they're a little better than maybe we thought, but we won't know how good they are until they get to the knockout stage. You just don't know.
And it's interesting because the way now that it's done, if somehow Team USA can win their group, they'll end up playing a third place team.
Right.
So they should win that game.
That's what I'm saying.
And you get to the round of 16, and you're probably still playing a team. See, to me, I think they got to get to the quarters. I think they got to get to the quarters to have this be a successful tournament. In my opinion,
would be. It would be a hell of a good thing to do to get to the final 8. But I don't know if they are the final 8. It's going to come down to matchups. Okay,
right?
You're right. If they should get to the final 8, but if it rolls out and they're looking at somebody like Spain or England or something like that.
That's why you got to win your group. That's why you got to win your group, and you have to have high goal differential so that you're seeded higher and you play lower seeded teams. So far, mission accomplished. We'll see what happens on Friday.
One thing, just as you're talking about that, Richard, that is helpful with this expansion of this is that you can make the game more exciting with having multiple goal games. A 7-1 game may not be exciting, but it's goals. It's scoring. We know that. We all like it. At least the American sports fan likes it. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So a 4-1 game is like, hey, this is great. It's a lot more excitement in the game. I know that you watch a game and you see a ball control kind of scenario. It's exciting to people who understand the game, but it's not exciting to the layperson who thinks that, hey, where's the scoring? Let's go.
Netherlands and Japan. I watched a good portion of that game yesterday. Ended up 2-2. Netherlands took the lead. Japan tied it. Netherlands took the lead. Japan tied it literally with about 4 minutes to go and before stoppage time. You'd have thought they'd won the World Cup the way their fans were celebrating. That's great. We have a bunch of people staying at the hotel I work at up here, and we are. Let me give you. We're near the New Hampshire border.
Okay.
And Foxborough is an hour. And that's without traffic, which never happens around here. So it's a poke. And I was working the overnight shift, and there was probably about 30 Scottish fans that came in, kilts, the jerseys, the whole 9. 3:00 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning. Disparaging the fans that came back earlier. It all in good fun, but they're fun. The Scots are fun. It was fun. It made that last night. I had 3 overnights in a row. It made that last one go quickly and was a lot lot and I'm about to sneeze here, John, so I apologize in advance if I do. So anyway, something to watch Friday, 3:00. Interesting time. I thought the first game being at 9:00 on a Friday, perfect time. The whole country gets to watch it. It's even 6:00 in Southern California where they played. 3 p.m. That means noon. Yeah. They're currently playing in Seattle as we record, Egypt and Belgium, and actually Egypt has a 1-0 lead. But that's kind of hard to do. That's if you're working, especially if you're working on the West Coast, what are you going to do? Take a 2-hour lunch?
And I will say this: that is, like I said, it is harder to get to watch, but. Hey, there's a lot of people who are very, very excited about this who might take a vacation day to watch the game.
Yeah,
who knows?
That's true. That's very true. And soccer fans, if they're nothing else, they are passionate.
They are passionate. You're right. They're right. And like I said, and I would never disparage their passion. They just they look, they dressed up for it. It's a whole to do. I mean, it's almost like a sporting event with Halloween attached to it in some ways. You know what I mean? It's very different in a manner of speaking. But again, if you're enthusiastic for it, I mean that's the only way that's ever going to get better is that somebody manages to keep the enthusiasm going.
Speaking of segues, this one's much smoother as we move on to golf, and we kind of referenced it at the beginning of the podcast if you weren't with us. The PGA, another first-time winner, Bud Cauley, won the Canadian Open in some pretty raw conditions. Rain, wind, wearing jackets in the middle of June. And even us up here, it's been in the 80s and 90s just about every day. That's not that far away, and it was a little chilly up there. But let's give it up to Bud Cauley, who back in 2022, while playing in the Memorial, got in a pretty serious accident. He was actually the passenger in the vehicle. Almost had to quit the tour. Took 2 years to come back, and he finally hits the winner's circle after 239 starts. I think, John, that's a record, if I'm not mistaken.
If it's not the record, it's in the top 3. Let's just say that to you. I did see something, but I wasn't sure if it was his number or somebody else's number. But he definitely has been up there. And you've seen his name around, even before and after the accident. Alabama player in college, Justin Thomas, his best friend or one of his best friends. And always was the guy that they thought had the talent to do it, just didn't cross the finish line. I mean, look at Tommy Fleetwood last year. He broke his little hex or his issues. So the grind of the game of golf is real. And to stay with it through injuries, to stay with it through the not getting there and being close a few times, there's something to be said about the personality type of a person who can keep grinding through things like that and keep and know and believe that they can win, because golf is so much mental. If you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. If you don't believe you can hit that shot on 18, a 125-yard shot, and if it goes in the water, you're going to go to a playoff or you're going to lose. You don't believe it, it's going to end up in the water. That's how it works. And so to see him finish that tournament off and to know the pressure he was under to do that and how long it took him to get to that spot, it's pretty impressive the way he's done. And
he gets a trip to Shinnecock because it's U.S. Open week. I didn't even put it on the shot sheet. Totally. Oh, there, got a hat. Let me see.
Shinnecock. Hold on, Shinnecock.
Higher. Now we're frozen. There it is. Yep.
Shinnecock. So I'm a USGA member, right there, member. I get a hat every year with my membership, and there's my Shinnecock hat. So out Long Island, a very, very good U.S. Open track. Last time they played there, they got it too dry and it was all messed up, and I think they fixed it a little bit this time. The defending Shinnecock U.S. Open champion is Brooks Koepka.
Brooksy, baby.
He took himself out of the final round yesterday with a little bit of an injury at the Canadian Open, so I'll have to look and see what he's doing. But the normal cast of characters are going to be the ones we're looking at, though, Rich. It's going to be Scotty, going to be Rory. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick is on a roll right now.
He is playing really well. He only was 2 back yesterday. Yeah. He was my pick for the last major, and he closed with a 65 to finish in the top. I'm a big Matt Fitzpatrick fan.
And of course, this always brings in the live guys. You're going to have the John Rahms in there and everybody else. But if you look at the top 20 guys if you want to seed them in the top 20, it's some of the guys are surprising that they're still there or they're there at all in some cases. I think Shane Lowry is a major championship guy. I like Shane Lowry a lot. I think I might have said this before to you.
If he could just avoid that meltdown he seems to have every once in a while. I mean,
Tommy Fleetwood is an Open championship kind of guy. I used to say Tommy Fleetwood, he'd always end his fourth round down two always be a 72. He have 18 pars. You don't win the U.S. Open normally with a 65 on Sunday. You win it with a 71 because you shot 67 and 60 earlier in the tournament. So I think he's a legitimate guy to be out there making headway. There's Bryson DeChambeau. 2 years ago, he's the Open championship.
Boy, he's not. He was playing real well going into the Masters, and since then he's really struggled.
Well, a lot of people have said that he's turned into a YouTuber, and he's not really about he's sort of lost his way. He has a fierce sort of practice regimen, and he's an experimenter and he's sort of like, maybe he's lost interest a little bit. Sometimes you say to these guys, well, he took the money. Maybe that's why he took the money. Maybe golf he grinded for a long time. Maybe he said, I can go make, $250 million for 4 years and see where this thing goes. And if it doesn't do it, I'll do something else with my time. So who really knows what the situation is? I haven't really looked at my sheet to figure a winner out, but I
was just going to ask you. It's like, I know you play. Don't you play fantasy golf?
I do, and I have a fantasy golf thing, and I also have a little pool that we pick 4 players out and do some things with that as well. But I already named the 2 top guys for me. I thought that this was Rory's one to win. I thought Rory was going to win at Shinnecock, but he won the Masters instead. So is Scotty the guy? Has Scotty been playing up to his level? No, I don't think he has. I think
he's got to get off to a good start. Scotty seems to eliminate himself on Thursday.
Yes, I think Rory's got to come out of the gate with a good number also. But I like Rory because it's a long course. That's another thing about the U.S. Open. It's 7,400 yards on tricky conditions. You got to be able to hit wedges into greens. It seems this one seems to suit Rory. It's out there on Long Island, so it's going to be windy. Normally, it's windy out there, so the wind will play a factor in the situation. Remember, though, years ago, Corey Pavin won at Shinnecock one time.
Right.
He was about 5'3", 110 pounds, and was hitting 3 woods into the green, where that guys now are hitting 9 irons in. You know what I mean? So it's a little different game altogether. So I think I do like Rory as far as I still have Rory to play in my league, so I could do that as well. Sometimes you think too hard about these things, and it's like it really is just those guys that are going to win it in a lot of cases. So I think if I'm giving out advice, look for a guy who can drive the ball long. Maybe a little more accuracy as well could bode well, which is a Tommy Fleetwood kind of a guy. But I like Rory, and this one probably overall I do like Rory. Scotty's game not really being there. I think Rory has a chance, and if he does, so be it. He's a generational player, and he needs another couple majors while he's still of that age group to do it. To really put his stamp on him. And if he's really serious about being thought of in the top 5 players of all time, he's got to win these type of championships, multiple championships in a year when the time comes of it.
I was going to pick Brooks, but the fact that he withdrew yesterday, a little bit disconcerting. Of course, you could say, well, Rory withdrew right before, well, not right before, but certainly the last tournament he played before the Masters, and that didn't matter. Maybe he just got himself right.
Brooks here's what you might have happened, and I'll just give you what I think could be part of the deal here.
Okay.
Not going to win the tournament. Okay. Maybe he was 8 back. It's rainy and windy.
And cold.
He's a bit of a brittle guy as it is with his injuries. He could have possibly said, I'm not going out there today. Slip sliding around. I don't need it. I'm gonna withdraw. I've got an undisclosed lower body injury, and I'm gonna do whatever I'm doing.
Does he play hockey? Well, he is a big Florida Panthers fan. I forgot about that. Big Florida Panthers fan.
And maybe he decided to get the Shinnecock a little earlier, and he's there right now, putting and chipping and doing whatever. Maybe he had a little tweak here and there, but he said, I'm not gonna win it. I still got that live money in my back pocket, so I don't need to worry about the 50, 60 grand I'm gonna get in this one. Let's go down and get ready for the U.S. Open. So don't put him out of the deal, but it was a little concerning that he had a little problem.
Sure. Well, anytime you withdraw,
something to look at.
Concern. So I'm just gonna go with the guy I went with last time. I'm gonna go with Matt Fitzpatrick. You said it. He is playing from every week. You look up at the leaderboard, he's in the top 10, top 12. I mean, he's playing good, steady golf, and that's what you need at a U.S. Open. Good, steady golf.
And he hits the ball further than you think he does.
Yes.
He's right about 300 on average, and he hits it a little. That he as he's gotten more mature, he's added things to his game that he didn't necessarily have before. So that's going to be an interesting scenario. I'd like to pick one other thing. I'd like to see one of the younger guys maybe come out of this situation. Everywhere I look, it's Ludwig Aberg. He's always up in the top. Everybody loves him, but I'm not sure he's ready to win it. He's got the game to win it, something like this. I don't know if he's ready for it mentally to do that. And I think he's close. I'd love to see Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth was a U.S. Open champion, guy who you like to see again do something a little bit more with his talent. He's had some issues with his talent, so we'll see. I guess there's a bunch of other guys you'd like to see win. There's always a surprise or two first round, right? There's always a guy who goes out and shoots 6 under. You're like, who is that? And
right.
Who just pops off the page early. So I'm sure we'll see something like that early.
Weather forecast, you're right. It's going to be a little bit variable. Towards the end of the week, could be a little wet. And like you said, because they're playing out in Long Island in the Open, could definitely wind should be a factor. Definitely be a factor.
1,000%.
So who's the first one that whines about it then?
As far as the course setup is concerned,
right? Course setup, the wind, and I kind of say that half tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
but I would certainly hope that they, just shut up and play golf.
Right. But you're right. There will be someone who decides it's time to say something. Whoever that may be. But I don't think it'll be a surprise. Whoever does say something.
All right, let's wrap this baby up. Locks of the week. We both did well. I told you Carolina was a lock to win Game 4. Put my money where my mouth was.
Yeah.
That was very good. So I improved to 22-16. You got off the schneid. Jalen Brunson at least 28 in games 3 and 4. You definitely did both of those, and then just threw up a 45 for grins.
Just to show what he could really do. Right.
So 23-15 for you. You still hold your 1-game lead, and this is getting a lot harder to do as we're running out of sports. So I can go first. I'll go on the tee box.
Sure.
I'll say Matt Fitzpatrick top 10.
Okay. I think it's a good bet. I think it's a very good bet. I think he's going to be. I honestly believe that he'll be on the leaderboard. They have the little top 5, whatever guys. But I think he's going to be there early and late as well. I think he's got the game. He's already won 1 U.S. Open. You know what I mean? He did
that was here in Boston.
In Boston, right, in Massachusetts. So he knows how to win, so he can do it. I'm going to go real simple, and I'm going to keep it topical, Rich. USA beats Australia on Friday.
Okay.
Now, I know that U.S. hasn't lost to Australia in a while. I mean, it's been a long time since they lost to them. Australia looked good. USA looked good. I think it's going to be a really good match. I think USA, with the home field advantage, will pull it out. I'm not going to say a score, but a good soccer score is 2-1, right? So maybe it's a 2-1 kind of game. Yeah, so we'll see.
Okay. Listen, that's one of the reasons why I think they got to make it to the quarters, because they have home field advantage no matter where they play.
Absolutely.
Unless they finish third and have to go to Mexico. That's definitely one thing you want to try to avoid at all costs.
Third prize, you're fired.
Their record in Mexico all time is not that good.
No,
all right.
Yeah.
Time for the final segment. What's bugging me? You kind of teased it, so I'll let you jump on the tee box first.
So it was, what I thought, and for a 5-game series with the Knicks and the Spurs, I thought that was great theater for 5 games. I don't know if I could have taken a 6 or 7 game series the way that those games were going. The enthusiasm, the crowds, winning on, having it be the first 3 games of the series, the visiting team wins. All those different things that go into it. You could tell, like Mike Breen and those guys who were doing the games, they were into those games. I thought that when you saw at halftime and after the game, the NBA the wrap up show with Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley and Shaq and all that,
inside,
really great. I mean, it was because it was something to talk about. Like it wasn't just like it really had a lot of meat on the bone. And so what really bothered me in the long run is how poorly Wemby and the Spurs behaved. Not just Game 5, but overall, I thought that their demeanor and their disposition was just immature and just I kind of, as I watched it, I'm like, I can see a little bravado here and there, but everything they did was about bravado. That every dunk they were hanging on the rim longer and pointing at somebody's face, or that every 3-pointer was, it was all it just looked, it had a bad look to it. Somebody made a tongue-in-cheek remark and saying, who knew that a French guy was going to act pretentious and snooty or snotty or whatever it was, and I'm thinking that's not really but maybe it is the case. Who knows? I'm just saying. But to be the face of the NBA, you better grow up in a lot more ways than being 7'5". You better be able to handle the good with the bad, walking off the court, not shaking a hand. I understand that, but never making any type of, that I've been told, or I've heard, I should say, any type of thing where he went to the other locker room and shook a hand. He just didn't do it. He didn't want to do it. De'Aaron Fox did it. He did it. I know that, him and Kat played at Kentucky together and that kind of thing. So, but if you want to be that team and you want to be a championship team, then act the part. And that behavior, that type of attitude really showed up in the final results, Rich, because they weren't mature enough to win a championship. They didn't know when to stop shooting threes. They didn't know. And we say that the coach didn't do anything. He might have told them 1,000 times to stop shooting threes. They might have been like, whatever, we got it. We're hot. Why would we stop? That's what somebody who is immature does. And so the immaturity of Wemby and the Spurs was more than disappointing. And I think that's sort of, that'll linger with me a bit. Not so much because it's too big of a win for New York and for the Knicks to have that overshadow it, but I don't like what they did. So that's what's bugging me.
All right. Same church, different pew.
Okay.
I'm going after the fans.
Okay.
I'm going after the Knicks fans. Look, you had an incredible run. You should be proud. 53 years. This team embodies everything that New Yorkers are, except what happened after Game 3 in particular, and then Game 5 with, 63. And I heard somebody quantify, all the people in New York, it's just 63 arrests. Come on. It's 2026.
Right.
Seriously? You got to burn school buses? You got to beat somebody up because they have a Spurs jersey on? Come on. You're better than that. I used to live there. You used to live there.
Right.
I was very embarrassed. And it's a lot of the reason why a lot of the times I say, where are you from? I'm from Florida. Because I just, there's no, it's 2026. There's no place in society for this crap. And I don't know when it became acceptable to do this stuff. It just bothers me to the core. And I hope to God everybody that gets together on Thursday can behave themselves. But I don't have confidence, John.
Right.
I don't. This is supposed to be a joyous celebration. Canyon of Heroes. Haven't had one of these, as we mentioned earlier, in 17 years. For the Knicks, it's been 53.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Act like you've been there before, even if you haven't. Come on. I'm actually begging you. I don't want to have to talk about this. It's crap. Total, unadulterated crap.
I agree.
I'm done. I'm done.
No, there's no better way to put it. You've been there, done that, behave the right way, be enthusiastic, have a couple of drinks, whatever it is, that's fine. Okay. If they said they had 10 guys intoxicated and they had to put them in a paddy wagon, okay, that's fine. But like you said, to see somebody they're setting 5 school buses on fire, stuff like that. There's no sense to it. There's no reason. There's no reason behind it.
Yeah. Somebody tell me the reason.
Yeah.
Please.
Somebody said I'm celebrating a victory by burning a school bus up. I don't know where that becomes part of a celebration. It's just somebody who wants to riot or wants to be in that situation. And it does ruin it in a manner to say like, well, one of the things that I thought was pretty cool and gave the rest of the country, if you paid attention, how big New York City is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had the crowd on 33rd Street, right? But they would say, look, there's a watch party in Astoria, Queens. There's a watch party in Flatbush in Brooklyn. There's a watch party in the Bronx. They were showing all these. They must have 7 or 8 different watch parties, all with the same size amount of people that were there at Madison Square Garden, right? And you think, wow, this is great, because you look it around and say, how big is New York? You know what I'm saying? In comparison, I think the only other city in the country that compares in the inner city part of it is maybe Chicago on a smaller scale, but they have places, population spots like LA and Phoenix and Houston. They're not concentrated in that area. Brooklyn's the 4th biggest city in the country if it wasn't part of New York City, right? So think about that. And you see all these really cool things happen and galvanizing of a city over a team, and people want to ruin it. And that's what gets you upset, because you want to say, hey, I'm from there. I'm a Knicks fan. You know what I mean? I'm a Knicks fan. And they say, but it's hard to say I'm a Knicks fan, and what I have to watch is that crap going on. And they look back at me and say, oh, look, they're burning down whatever. It's hard. It's hard as a Knicks fan, a former or a New Yorker from a while back again,
right,
to say that that's something that I approve of, and it's just not.
No. All right, and that'll do it for this edition of the 941 Sports Zone. Another one in the can. We are getting closer now, John. We can probably start counting the days until the 24th of July, and I know you're feverishly putting everything together, and I, as one who's on the panel, certainly do appreciate it. I just get to fly in and sit on the panel and, and ask
good.
questions and stuff.
We have there's a lot of folks that like to help out, which is great. It's pretty much 39 days away at this point. So we're getting closer, but that just shows you how close we are to football season. It's crazy, right? It's like you say, okay, it's close. There's no doubt about it. And things around different places are shaping up, and you're starting to see more and more of that. You're seeing the push on some of the Google feeds, and you're seeing more about college football and high school football. And like I said, we'll be having some guests in here to sort of explain some of the changes that have been made, and previewing some of the things that we're looking forward to, not only in pro and college football, but also in high school football. So that's going to be a big part of what we do all fall.
Okay, let's tell everybody the particulars. July 24th,
annual
Friday.
Suncoast Gridiron preview, or whatever we call. I always say whatever comes out of our mouths, as long as it's got football and media day attached to it. Carroll GMC, located on the island of Venice. If you know Venice very well, it's the Circus Bridge or the South Bridge area of the island of Venice. 22 teams that are going to be invited, or were invited to be a part of our festivities, where we get probably about a good 15-20 minutes with each team. Coaches and players come in. The panel will be set with you, Xavier McKnight from ABC7, James Hill, and we're also going to have Matt Geller there this year as well. So Matt's going to be involved as well, and he's been a big part of our podcast. And
yes, he has.
He might be the one guy that really has been. He's there. He's the guy out there in the trenches with everybody, literally. So it's good to have him there. He probably has a lot of very good, poignant questions of all these coaches. But the enthusiasm from the kids and the coaches have been fantastic, and the facility has been really great. They set it up looking beautiful. Vibrant Aspect Media and all their high-tech camera work and everything they do will be great as well. So we're looking at a live podcast that day of probably 6 hours, if not more, maybe 7 hours. And then as it's cut and pasted together, something that's going to be archived on web pages, and although you name it, it'll be out there, and Vibrant will get all that done for us instead of us doing our what do we do now? We start it up and keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, it was a little hairy getting on today, as a matter of fact.
But it's fun. So I kind of enjoy it, but so it'll be a great time, and really looking forward to it. Rivals will be there. On3 will be there. And then all the local publications hopefully will show up as well, and that's what we always like to get. We like to provide for them, is saying, hey, maybe I can save you a couple of 1,000 miles on your car over the next couple of months, knowing you can talk to a coach that that's going to come your way instead of you having to go to them and try to find them out.
All right. Looking forward to that again, July 24th.
Yeah, it's fun.
Keep it open on your calendar. If you're at work and it's a Friday, you can go right to the YouTube page. We'll give you all that information as things get closer. So for John, Canyon of Heroes, Ticker Tape Parade, Masoni, I'm Spitz. Until next week, so long, everybody.